Hello, everybody. My guest today is Marc Kirshbaum. He's a business leader, strategic advisor, and board member to companies in healthcare, software, and information technology. He's retained by investors, founders, and CEOs to build, grow, and turn businesses around that will deliver sustainable and measurable results for investors, employees, and customers. He's been serving as the CEO of his current company, Sococo, since August 2017. Marc, are you ready to take us to the top?
I'm ready, Nathan. Good to see you.
All right. So good to see you as well. Let's jump right in here. So tell us first what the product does and how do you make money? Is it pure play SaaS?
Yeah, sure it is. And Sococo is the online workplace where distributed teams come to work together each day side by side. So consider it a virtual office for distributed teams. And it is a SaaS model on a subscription basis for users that are in the space during a given month. For our customers, and it's paid for on a per user basis.
So Marc, people, when they hear the place to work for distributed teams, they're going to think Slack. They're going to think these kinds of tools. Where are you different?
Absolutely. So Sococo is actually not just a communication platform with integrated audio, video, and messaging, which, by the way, integrates with Slack and other audio video tools. We are not a pure audio video communication play. What we are is the place. We are the virtual office. So I wish I could share my screen with you, and maybe that's an option, but you could see the Sococo team actually at work. So I was in a meeting this morning with a colleague in the marketing team who's in London, one who's in Boston, me sitting here in our Provo, Utah office. And we were all able to come together in one space and be visible to the entire organization. So when you're in Sococo and you're seeing the map, it's actually addictive to our users when they see these blinking avatars in a space that is actually the communication of someone speaking to another. I can see that someone's sharing their screen. I know whether it's okay, and depending on our company protocol, to walk into a space where someone might be or a group of people might be. And you think of all that time that's wasted, Nathan, to start a meeting. Hey, do you know where Nathan is? Is he coming? Oh, I don't know. Maybe he's in another meeting still. But when you're looking at the Sococo map and you can see that the leader of the meeting has popped into a room with the sound of the pop, all of a sudden the 20 other people from wherever they are in the world know that that meeting's ready to start, and there's absolutely zero wasted time.
This feels like a VR play 10 years from now. We'll jump into that more in a second.
100%.
But first, take me back to pricing real quick. So people are paying on a per seat model per month. What's the average when a new logo signs up? How many seats are they buying on average, and what's that ARPU look like?
Sure. From a land and expand approach, if it's a team that is getting on board, then you're looking at 50 to 100 users initially in a pilot. And that has grown for our customers into the hundreds. And we actually have customers in the thousands of users who actually are distributed teams around the world who come to work in Sococo every day.
What's the seat price there, Marc?
It's $15 on a per user basis. And then obviously there's an annual discount and a volume discount.
Got it. So if the average start is 50 people paying 50 seats, paying $15 a seat, it's about $750 a month for a new team joining you.
Correct. But with an annual subscription, it's less.
That's good. Okay, that's good. So what do you do? Like a 2 months free on an annual subscription, something like that?
So we're doing a 1 month free trial, a free to paid model. And so we will get them started in this space for 30 days. And we'll have our customer success team working with them to make sure that they're using Sococo appropriately. Because you can imagine if they're not understanding how to effectively use the platform, then they might not see and derive enough of the benefit from it. So we have a team dedicated to that.
First year ACV, though, it sounds like it's still, though, healthy north of $8-9 grand.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
Correct.
So why do you like this hired gun role, right? You're put in by investors. Like, why not go back out and do your own thing again?
Well, so in a way, that's kind of what's happened with Sococo, right? Is I was on the board and I was, evaluating the opportunity for Sococo going forward.
How did you get on the board? Were you an investor?
So I represent the lead investor as one of my clients, who's the lead investor in Sococo and has continued to support the company financially.
Is it an EIR thing or VCs and people pay people like you to take board seats?
So it's more, I'm working mostly with family offices and private equity firms where they have direct investments in operating companies. And they've asked me to come in and help combination of evaluate, guide, mentor, coach across the board and the leadership to help derive value. Because what I'm absolutely focused on are what I think are the three pillars of success for any business, which must all be firing: strategy, leadership, and execution.
Oh, I thought you meant all three pillars must be firing, like firing people, right?
No, like it must be firing on all three cylinders.
Yeah.
Thanks for that reputation you're going to give me.
Well, I was going to say, you seem like a nice guy. Your beautiful mountainous background, serendipitous, and you say, fire people, fire them. No, I'm just kidding.
The last but philosophically, just on that note, Nathan, let me say the first thing I do in organizations coming in is saying, were people given the tools and training that they needed to succeed, and were they given the right management and guidance?
Yep.
And in this situation with Sococo specifically, I believe that when you look at our intellectual property, our unique product positioning with the Sococo map, which is much more than an asynchronous communication tool, and the amazing logos and customers that have stuck with us as we have evolved the product into a more stable platform, it got me to step in and say, you know what, this is really, really worth the investment of my time. And we have now built out a really strong management team.
How many people on the team full time?
So full time, we have close to 30 people.
Okay.
Full time.
Between which offices?
Well, we practice what we preach. So we've got a distributed team. We've got a core team of people here in Provo, Utah, in Eugene, Oregon, some people in the Boston area, a couple people in Europe, and the rest are distributed.
Okay. And funding wise, how much has the company raised to date?
So the company has been around actually for 10 years. And the patents go back to that original filing.
So 2008?
Yep. Since 2008, and the company has evolved. So, I more look at, where we're going and where the growth is now, because it really is frankly irrelevant as to how much money historically has gone into the company.
I'm curious though, so you mentioned you represented some of these firms though. Like, was this, they put in 10 million into Series A, that's when you took a board seat? Like, before you came in and started switching everything up and optimizing, how much had the company raised?
Yeah, so since 2015 or so, there's been approximately, $5 to $7 million that has gone into the company. And the 3 years prior to that, there was probably about the same amount of money.
So call it 10 to 14 million in all in, something like that.
Yeah, in the current iteration of Sococo.
Yep. And so what happened? I mean, you're on the board, and then there was some change where you said, I got to come in and run this thing. Obviously, there's a current CEO. How did that person go in or out? What was the feeling there?
Yeah, so there was a transition in June. The prior CEO did a great job of bringing our platform up to date from an audio video perspective. But traditionally, it was a proprietary platform, because when you think about it, if you go back to 2008, Sococo predates the prevalence, of audio, video, and chat. So it was a completely proprietary platform. And now the shift has been since coming on board, so that it is focused on connecting to the other tools that people use and make them available inside Sococo. For example, Slack.
Mark, but what happened though? Like, was it slow? Like, it wasn't growing fast enough for the board's liking? I mean, what happened?
I think it was a combination of looking at the projections for the growth going forward and whether those would get us to where they needed to be, and then a combination of the market positioning. So Sococo is an excellent tool for development teams, especially agile teams, because the whole concept of agile methodology are scrums, they're quick decision making. And when a team is distributed, it's really hard for them to get together. And they actually spend a lot of money to physically get together every quarter. So the company was positioned as primarily a tool for development teams, and more specifically, agile development teams, to be more effective. And so that's an important component of it. But as you can imagine, and as we've talked about, Sococo has much broader applications beyond that, and the focus really needs to be on the Sococo map.
Mark, how did you get the previous CEO to agree to leave? I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. I imagine there were some tough conversations there.
Yeah, so obviously that's confidential, and I can't really get into that except to say that there was a very, very smooth transition, and the team got it. And we
do you think everyone would say that? If I asked the board and I ask current employees, they'd all say, "Oh yeah, it was really smooth," or would they say, "It was rough, but we worked it out"?
Probably the latter.
Yeah, it's not always easy. No one ever talks about this, by the way, but it happens 8 out of 10 times.
It's so important. And again, I've been part of a lot of different turnarounds, whether they were, smaller companies or part of large global organizations. And so much of it is focused on communication, and consistency in the messaging, right? Because if it's in my head, I got it and I'm committed. But how do I make sure I translate that to the employees and repeat it consistently, and then give examples of how we're successfully doing it? Because you really, really have to, as a leader, in my opinion, repeat that to the point where, okay, now 2 or 3 people got it on this Friday's all hands meeting, and hopefully 2 or 3 more people get it on next Friday's all hands meeting. And it's all about, repetition and reinforcement, and the level of energy you bring to the table.
We're running out of time here. Last few economics questions here. So what have you scaled customers to date?
Right. So we have scaled, into the good, strong 5 digits of users, and several hundred customers.
Okay.
And these include Fortune 100 companies, And mostly, again, the focus has been so far on development teams and distributed teams. And the expansion is much broader. I mean, distributed could be me and a colleague 2 doors down, because I can't physically see where they are and what they're doing and if they're busy. But if I look on the Sococo map, I can tell. And so we really help hiring and building organizations. When a head of HR says, gee, I want to hire the best people for my organization, but how do I keep them connected and build loyalty and a sense of belonging? And that's really what Sococo helps them do, in addition to obviously productivity.
So Mark,
there's a reason that there's a reason Apple spent $5 billion to build, the spaceship.
Of course.
Right.
Yep. So not
everyone though can do that.
With a couple thousand users and then a couple hundred customers, let's call it 300. I mean, you talked to me earlier about kind of a minimum when people join, it's 50 seats or something like that at $15 a pop, $750 a month. If I take 750 times that 300, is it fair to say you guys are north of 200, 300 grand a month right now in revenue?
That's a fair statement.
Okay, good. And what are you growing at year over year?
So we're growing 66% year over year. Excuse me, 61%. Yep. And we've had 92% customer retention.
That's logo or revenue?
That is both logo and revenue. We've set both of those goals for the business. So
okay, but you hit them both, 92%?
We absolutely did. And we're seeing, and again, we have yet to invest in marketing since I've been here, and we're seeing 20 to 40 walk-up leads a day coming into Sococo. And we're converting those at about a 20 to 30% clip.
That's great.
And then with those new accounts, we're growing our new accounts over a 60-90 period by about 20%. So those are some of the metrics, that you'd expect to start seeing in a strong SaaS business that we want to scale.
Yep. And then is it fair to say if you're north of 220-ish, 230 right now in terms of MRR, and you're growing 61% year over year, so about 12 months ago, 13 months ago, you were somewhere in the 150 range. Is that fair?
Sub 150.
Okay. Yeah. And when do you think you'll break like the 3 million ARR mark? You think that happens this year?
That's the goal. Absolutely.
That's good.
My goal for end of 2019 is to break the 1 million MRR.
Yep, that's good. 12 million ARR. That's good. And so that would need healthy growth this year for the last 8-9 months, and then obviously healthy growth next year as well. Tell me real quick, payback period. So you mentioned you don't do a ton of paid stuff, but if you look at your fully weighted CAC, how quickly do you like to recover that CAC on these new accounts?
We're recovering that in about 12 to 13 months.
That's pretty healthy. And where are you spending money when you do spend it?
So the answer is we really haven't. We just haven't yet.
So how do you calculate a 12 to 13 month payback period?
Basically looking mostly at what we spend on marketing labor resources, but not third party.
Yeah, you're talking about, so if you look at fully diluted CAC, you're also including salaries of your marketing team, your onboarding team, et cetera. That's where you get that payback period.
That's correct.
Okay, good. So a 13-month payback period, again, with people paying $750 a month, people can kind of back into a CAC number of somewhere around $9,700, something like that.
That's right.
Okay. Any plans to raise additional capital now that you've got the company kind of on a different track, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the strong commitment of our existing investors, but we are looking to do another round this year to provide us that growth capital that we need, because, prove that it works like we have, and now, put it on steroids and invest more aggressively.
So put the pitch out. How much are you looking to raise?
So we're looking to raise in the $7 million range.
Okay.
In the next few months. And that money, as I said, will go toward growth capital to invest in marketing and expansion of our sales and marketing resources, as well as obviously product development.
Hoping to sell somewhere between kind of 10 and 20% of the company, something like that?
Yeah.
Something.
I think the 20% is a fair peg on that.
Yeah. Very good. All right, let's wrap up here, Mark, with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
My favorite business book is... Oh gosh.
Or the last one you read.
My favorite business book, actually, for a good quick read, is actually Lincoln on Leadership.
Lincoln on Leadership. Good. Number 2 is
I don't know if you've heard that.
I have. And number 2 is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
I would probably say Schultz up at Starbucks.
Yep. Howard Schultz. Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building your business? Besides your own.
Sococo.
Besides your own.
Sococo. Beside that, it's Slack.
Yep. Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
4.5.
Okay, that's pretty good. What's your situation? Married, single, you have kids?
Married with 2 daughters.
Oh, wow. And how old are you?
I am 49.
All right, Mark, last question. Last question here. Take us back to your 20-year-old self. What do you wish you knew?
Patience and perspective.
Patience and perspective. There you guys have it from Mark. He's been a hired gun for some of these family offices, private equity firms. Got involved with Sococo many years ago via a family office or private equity investment. The company raised, call it 10 million total all in. Was launched in 2008, helping distributed teams communicate in a way that really not many other people are doing. Very visual, obviously audio features as well. Today, they're 30 people based between Provo, Oregon, Boston, Europe, and then the rest is a distributed team. They're serving 300 enterprise customers, paying on average $750 a month. So doing about 220 grand, call it around there, per month in revenue. Hoping to break $1 million a month by the end of 2019, and hopefully 3 million in ARR by the end here of 2018. They're currently growing at about 60% year over year. So healthy growth, 92% logo and revenue retention. Again, CAC payback period about 13 months. Mark, thank you for taking us to the top.
Absolutely. Visit Sococo.com.